Welcome to the SwimSwam Breakdown. I am your host, Coleman Hodges. It has been a while. We took a break from breakdowns after the 2025 World Championships. We've been bringing you tons of podcasts from athletes at World Champs. You can head over to SwimSwam to listen to all those discussions. But for right now, we're back with the SwimSwam Breakdown. We are joined by SwimSwam CEO Mel Stewart from Austin, Texas. What's up, Mel? How's it going?
I'm tired. There's too much going on.
Mel's been doing a heavy lift. He's been bringing you half of our podcasts, but he's also been behind the scenes wrangling everyone in swimming for any sort of discussion, trying to further the sport, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Because, I mean, today we're talking about World Aquatics. We're talking about USA Swimming's new CEO. We're talking about enhanced games. You name it, Mel is behind the scenes trying to wrangle something up because of it. So our first topic is World Aquatics. So this is breaking news today that the 50s of stroke for LA 2028, we know that they're going to be added. Now we know that qualification for them will be in the fall of 2027. You were at a media roundtable that World Aquatics hosted for this, Mel. What more can you tell us about what this will look like?
World Aquatics had us on. It was a small roundtable of media. They basically let us know national Olympic committees, USA Swimming, for example, and a domestic swimming arm of the USOPC. They don't know, and so I'm on with Braden, the Times in London. The biggest publication in Australia, biggest publication in France. And they're like, Braden's sitting there. I'm watching him text, and I'm like, who are you texting? And he's like, he was texting with Jake Grosser, who's the chief operating officer of USA Swimming. And he's been very professional in that position and communicates really well with Braden. And he's like, I'm deleting this because they don't know. And what people don't know about our new chief operating officer is he's young, and he has a young family, and he has a newborn. So he's up at like 4 a.m. And I'm like, he's going to see this. But the entire meeting was under really one topic. It was to explain to media why this was taking time and how complicated it was. It is an enormous math equation. And here are the stresses. So they were just basically saying, here's how much work we've done, and here's why it's so complicated.
Oh my God. I already don't like this, but sorry.
It's actually interesting, and it's actually a feather in swimming's cap. It's something that we should be proud of. The Olympics aren't really the Olympics unless the world participates, and there's a handful of sports that makes that happen. Mm-hmm. Swimming is at the top of the list.
Right.
So when new countries roll up and become a part of the Olympic ecosystem, mm-hmm. they can typically field a swimmer or two. And but swimming is under this enormous pressure to be that huge participatory sport. So the International Olympic Committee can say we're truly global.
Yeah.
And then you think about the math of a lineup, and you think about adding 50s, and so we have 350s a stroke. That's 6 more races. It gets complicated, and part of the math problems was just how you're going to do this. And we now have 9 days, and then I should say at the outset that we're not going to know the Olympic lineup. They cannot confirm the Olympic schedule, and that is not being confirmed today. And everyone's going to be asking about that and guessing about that. That was Braden's first question. What's the schedule?
Yeah.
And we have to hear from the IOC. They have to certify it. Oh my God, who's our swimming CEO and president from Africa? Swam at Auburn.
Oh, Kirsty Coventry.
Kirsty Coventry is my understanding is that she's eyes on, and she's very excited about this. And I think that they want to be a part of that announcement, and they also want to certify it. So we're not going to get the lineup. But Braden asked that question several times.
So we don't have the lineup, but we do know that qualification for the 50s of stroke will take place in the fall. What's that going to look like? Do we know that?
Well, there's something that everyone should know is that, okay, while we have a huge Olympic trials in the United States, Olympic trials in the top 15 swimming nations is a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's a rallying cry. It kind of starts that Olympic drumbeat, banging, and gets everybody excited.
Yeah.
Those are a big deal. So there was tension between Swimming Australia, British Swimming, and USA Swimming and World Aquatics, because in other sports and other international federations, they're choosing their Olympic athletes off of the previous World Championships a year out. So they kind of have a sense of it. But we like this big platform event.
Mm-hmm.
And but there's huge benefits to World Aquatics, to the International Federation, for pulling in some control. This gives them an excuse and a reason to do that, and it's advantageous. Do it early, do it at World Cup, do it across 2 World Cups, and it gives them some control, and it gives them some of the platform on the international stage, and they need it, and we need it for the World Cup. I'm throwing a lot of information out here, but
so the bottom line, the bottom line so far, Olympic qualification 450s of stroke will take place at World Cup for all swimmers worldwide.
Correct.
Okay.
That could be off. That could be off. Braden has been writing this since Friday. This didn't go to anybody else. There might be several writers on this, but it's such a huge math problem.
Okay.
So
is there a certain number of swimmers? Like why, because we have times and we have places, right? There are rankings. Why is it such a big math problem? Or why I'm confused. Is it just a certain number of countries, or spots per? Obviously, it's not more than 2 swimmers per country.
So 830 swimmers will compete at the Los Angeles Olympics.
Okay.
And that's across, a good prediction is 194 National Olympic Committee countries. It's things to consider is that we're going to have a reduction in the number of relays that will qualify. So we're going to go from 16 down to 12.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
They've got to make space. This is what it's going to be. So if we want these 50s, and a lot of people on the Olympics wants the 50s there. These are television friendly. There's some give and take. And then there's going to be a reduction in the additional relay competitors, ARCs, formerly referred to as relay only athletes. They're additional relay competitors. So let me just take a step back. If we're going from 16 to 12 is tough, because it's like, who are you knocking off? What great swimming nation is, at 13,
not
14,
getting
15.
a shot.
Yeah. And it's like, these are some really talented, great swimmers that may be picking up, extra medals in the relay. And we know that at the Olympics, you might come in as the 13, 14, 15, 16th relay, but you could get on the podium. We have or get in the final. It's it's a big deal.
Yep.
But so the additional relay competitors, which is going to be so if you have one relay qualified, you get 2 additional athletes, 2 relays, 3 additional athletes, 3 relays, 5 additional athletes, 4 relays, 6 additional athletes, 6 to 7 relays, 8 additional athletes.
There's only. Oh, you're talking across men and women. I see.
Yeah. Okay. The question was how big can we, how big of a team can we take? And they're like, oh, you can still take 26 men, 26 women. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Which for you, Team USA specifically, women, that's not going to be a problem. I don't think. For men, that could be a problem. That could we could see people lose spots over that. So
we're talking, then there was time standards, and they're doing something that we kind of like. And what people should know is that it's Craig Hunter out of the UK. It's Mike Unger, who was the former chief operating officer of USA Swimming for decades. He's really effectively like a number 2 there. His title is so long that in Europe they title things differently. But in this meeting, it was Craig Hunter. It was Torin, their communications person, Brent Nowicki, the CEO, and Mike Unger, who is really working operations in everywhere. And you can feel Mike's influence from the United States, because he's like, for time standards, we're now going to AB time standards. It used to be OQT. They're going to go to AB cuts. And to give you an example of an A cut, they're thinking this is not fully announced yet, but they're thinking time standards will be like an A standard will be the top 14 places. The 14th place at the last Olympics, that's the time standard. And then you have B cuts. So they're going to AB cuts, like the NC2As.
Yeah.
And that's kind of all they shared. Like most of our meeting, this personal meeting was just, this is really hard. And we want you to know why hard. I got to be honest with you. I was halfway through this thing and I started doing other work because Braden was doing it. I'm like following up with sales calls because it went like 90 minutes. What's fascinating, here's what's fascinating from the standpoint of the politics. This gives some, imagine the United States, but it could be Swimming Australia or British Swimming. It could be other big swimming nations. We get our Olympic trials platform, so we get to have that big moment. But World Aquatics gets to pull in and have this moment to highlight the World Cup, and it also starts that Olympic window and the Olympic drumbeat in the fall of 2027. And I do think that Olympic window and drumbeat is going to be bigger, particularly in the United States because of our domestic Olympics in 2028. So that's good. And for anybody who's wondering why I'm saying good, I'm in sales. I'm in the revenue business in media, and that's actually good. Like athletes should be rolling up sponsorship sooner. People should be thinking about the Olympics more.
Right.
And it's good for the business of swimming, and it leverages out the movement so that young parents will be thinking, hey, maybe I'll choose swimming as a sport for my child.
Yeah. So I think that is kind of that in a nutshell. That's big news to drop. And it's good that we have now shed this light, or we're getting more light shed on these Olympic 50s and how they're going to fit in. Yep.
One more thing. There was a big question of like, are we going to give up semis of 200s?
Yeah.
At the Olympics, with the addition of the 50s, and the answer that we got in that meeting was no. And the reason why was, it wasn't like, oh, we're going to take away, a swim from 200 swimmers. It was no television time. Swimming is still one of the crown jewels of the Olympic platform, and television wants more races to air. So 200 of semis will not be taken out. So
we obviously don't know the schedule yet. We know that it's still 9 days. Do you foresee 2.5, 3 hour final sessions?
No. I think they're going to keep this on. I think they're going to keep it flowing and keep it on tap. I think this is going to be tight. I think it'll work. There was some discussion about a blind run. Like we're gonna know within about 4 or 5 weeks what the schedule is, and we're by Budapest in 2027. We're going to see how this works. So we're going to see the telecast and see how it works. So the question of like, I'm saying no, they're saying no, it's not going to hurt us time wise with really long sessions. They think they have it dialed in, it's going to work, and we're really going to be happy with what we see in Budapest because it's going to feel like a dry run.
Okay. So that's also good to know, is that, World Champs 2027, not only in the pool will the athletes and the coaches kind of be dialed in and focused, using that as their, okay, this is our pre-Olympic meet, this is our pre-Olympic practice, but also from a media and TV perspective, that it'll be what it looks like in LA 2028.
And I'm talking about World Championships. I'm not talking about the World Cup where we're going to qualify the 50s. I'm talking about World Championships.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which already in format is very similar to the Olympics, right? Just mirrors it a lot. Yeah. All right. So that's good news to discuss. Hopefully, if you're listening, you now have a little bit more insight. You have as much insight as we do as to how these 50s are going to go, and what has been revealed about their addition to these LA 2028 Olympic Games so far. Let's keep it on the business side, because we haven't had a breakdown in a few weeks. Again, a lot going on. USA Swimming has a new CEO. After over a year without a CEO, USA Swimming has hired Kevin Ring, who was the former, I'm sorry, Melly, you'll have to help me out, former COO?
Kevin Ring was hired. Kevin Ring was the chief revenue officer for PGA, and then for many, many years, he was the chief marketing officer, then chief revenue officer. That's a slight title up. everyone has different titles. God, you know what? I hate these titles in corporate America. I hate these titles. It was traditionally CMO, Chief Marketing Officer.
Yeah.
Then it was the Chief Commercial Officer, and then it's like a Chief Revenue Officer. It's all in the same bucket. You're selling, and you're leveraging partnerships in a sports platform. I think it's BS. But he was in that bandwidth and escalating, and we tracked his for over 10 years, and he was like 400K a year, and he went up to like 633K a year as a chief revenue officer at PGA. And then he moved in 2023 over to Legend, which is another asset in golf, and was the president of that. And so yes, that's our guy. He has no swim background, no swimming culture. But the board of directors for USA Swimming feel like his experience at PGA with how he was selling and what he was doing and his management of that team dovetails with USA Swimming.
Yeah. So I'm curious what you would like to see as his first actions, especially knowing his background, as you said, in sales and revenue and bringing in money to an organization.
I've been hypercritical of like what it should be. I was the first person to interview for this position. I've said this before. First person to interview. That was back in the last day of November 2024. Low chances, but I did think that I could present to the board and say, "Hey, here's what I think this should be." And that's the reason why I did. I wanted to have some influence. And the short answer of how that turned out is it was laughable and naive for me to think that. They did not want to hear from me. The chief executive officer, in my opinion, should have come with swim background because swim is such a unique culture. It's so difficult. Tim Hinchey had a swim culture background, but he was out of it in the professional world for a long time, then came back to it. I think most of his close friends would say even 7 years in, he was figuring it out. So there's a really steep learning curve for Kevin Ring, the new chief executive. I think everybody is exhausted, and they're like they want to give him a chance. It's like, hey, finally we got somebody.
Yeah.
And I personally feel that way too. I'm exhausted by this whole process. I think the board really bungled it badly, hiring a first chief executive who got a say sport claim, taking too long to find new talent. We were aware of talent. So I'm looking at it through the lens of, I think in a domestic Olympic run-up, we should have had a chief executive walk money through the door. And I know that between myself and I know that between the other Olympic peers, who are three, each of us would have been walking through 3 to 4 title sponsors in the first 30 days.
Yeah.
Just because of our age and our book of business, and because we all interviewed and we all pre-negotiated these deals. So I expect from our CEO, I don't want a listening tour. I expect him to learn what the market is always, because he's always going to be learning. But I expect to see press release after press release of new sales. I want to see $4 to $5 million in this first year. And most people would think that's a high bar, but I don't think that's a high bar in domestic Olympic run-up. Knowing what we know about existing brands who are ready to work with USA Swimming.
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened. What people don't know in the background is that, Tim Hinchey, our previous CEO, was supposed to be the deliverer of money. The board wanted somebody who could bring in and deliver partnerships. He didn't do it. And then he hired a chief commercial officer, and we thought that she would do it. That was Shanna Ferguson. She didn't really do it. She didn't.
And how many title sponsors did USA Swimming lose under Tim Hinchey?
And we lost Phillips 66, we lost Marriott, and we lost the insurance company, and
Mutual of Omaha.
And you'd say that a lot of them had matured. It was time for them to go, but we didn't. A part of it was that our team at USA Swimming was going to existing partners and asking for more money. And then those existing title sponsors were saying, no, we're paying you. For them, they were large companies. They almost saw it as almost like charity and PR for their companies, and less like a brand buy with leverage that would actually impact their bottom line and ROI, return on investment.
Yeah.
And their message was, go do your job. sign more. You've got a huge footer on the bottom of your website. You can just load it up with sponsors.
Yeah.
And so it's my hope that the board of directors stays out of Kevin's way, protects him. They follow the wet side of the sport. They work with Greg Meehan. They work with club development. They work with club services, member services, and they allow Craig to really focus on raising revenue. And this is what people need to know as a metric. So we're 24 million in registration. We're 3.5 to 5 million in sponsorships. Everyone has always wanted that to be on par. We need to get up to 25 million, 24, 25 million in our partnerships. That's doable. It's really doable. And sales is grit and work. So it comes down to it. So the criticism is stop being lazy and get the job done.
And so on that topic also, there's criticism of him not having swimming knowledge. He barely knew the 4 strokes or the order of a medley relay or an individual medley. But what it comes down to, from my perspective, is he doesn't need to know swimming. As you said, he needs to know the market, because his job isn't raising, right? Like, I think Greg Meehan is going to have the national team performing how we expect them to in LA 2028, regardless who our CEO is. But he can have an impact on the money in the athlete's pocket. Correct?
Correct. He can. He could be a change maker. Yes. I'm more impressed, and I like I like the formative years of people's careers. It's not that last title. I'm sorry, but when people get to, I'm the CEO of SwimSwam, but it's everything that I did from 1993 to 2006 that gave me the ability to do anything.
Yeah.
And in his formative years, they were at International Management Group, IMG, which it's now William Morris Endeavor IMG, but they were with IMG. That's a stalwart sports management and sales business that was huge. It goes back to the 1960s. You train, you learn the ropes, and you build relationships across the entire industry. So if he did that and he has grit, he has those relationships in his back pocket, and they will buy swimming because they'll trust him to deliver brand leverage for them and deliverables being how well you treat each other in terms of servicing a contract. And we don't have the best. It is my personal opinion in a podcast format that's editorial. It is my opinion that we don't have the best track record doing that.
Yes,
because we interface with a lot of the same brands. So I have to say this, even while we're on the topic, my opinion was that my opinion on the chief executive should have been that it would have been CEO was $360K, COO was $360K a year, national team director was $360K a year. They were all making the same amount of money, and they all had the same bonuses, and the bonuses would be really beneficial and create incentive to move. But I also wanted to take that leadership and connect them to the athlete partnership agreement, which is direct support to national team, because that's been flat since 2010. And I also wanted to connect that to what coaches are making when they're named to the national team. So if anyone performs, everybody gets a bonus. When you perform and there's ever an increase, it's an increase across the entire team. I also wanted everybody in swimming that's in a base and they spend $1 to go to a trials or they buy something, they know that dollar is going in a direct place. I wanted to create cohesion. And I think that when we overpay our top executives, they're less likely to be risk takers, dynamic, bold leaders, and chase opportunity because they just want to protect their salary. So I'm hoping against hope that that's not the case. That's kind of been the history and the culture of the U.S. Olympic Committee, USOPC.
Just to be clear, we've said this on a number of podcasts. You've certainly said this on a number of podcasts recently. But if anyone's listening now who hasn't heard this, you said that APA, which stands for Athlete
Partnership Agreement.
The Athlete Partnership Agreement, the agreement with USA Swimming that gets athletes paid, that puts money in national teamers' pockets has been flat since 2010, meaning it has not, those numbers have stayed the same. Athletes, national team athletes are getting paid the same amount that they got paid in 2010. Correct?
That's correct. Yes, we have 7 national team members on the board of directors, and they're supposed to be representing us, the base. They're supposed to be representing athletes, and to me, they didn't do their. Excuse me, they didn't. I'm not saying this is an opinion. I'm saying this is a fact. They didn't do their job. There's not as much money in swimming for elite athletes. The swimwear market's not as strong. There are fewer players. There are fewer players who are willing to spend money. If you're a national team athlete and you're not a Katie Ledecky, Kate Douglas, or a Walsh sister, or a Reagan Smith with great representation, your economic viability is not great. You're probably making an annual salary that is less than a large swim club's assistant coach. You're probably making less than the assistant coach. Mm-hmm. And APA, think about inflation during the pandemic. APA doesn't pay much. It's not paying. It's like $3,200 a month. I need to check those numbers. We should check those numbers, but it's my understanding it's $3,200 a month.
Yeah,
that doesn't do. So if you're an athlete and you have to go to a physical therapist and you can't get it for free from the university because you're a pro, you got to pay for that. That's $200 an hour. You want to get a massage, you're paying for it. You want to get, you need to work on Pilates and like once a week to work on the tissues, that are going to keep you from getting injured. So you're going to have to pay for everything. It's being an elite athlete costs money.
Yeah. And it's not cheap, and it should cost money because we are expecting elite performances from these elite athletes. It happens in other sports. And I think if you told any other major sport, oh yeah, people are getting paid the same in 2025 as they are in 2010, they'd have an aneurysm.
Athletes are the decision for a national team. A decision for a national team athlete now is, do I start my career? Because this is
my career outside of swimming. Yeah.
This is not economically viable. So I get very emotional. I get angry. I get furious when I see a press release that says how proud USC Swimming is of their national team or of our, it's just like, I don't care what you say. Where do you spend your money? Mm-hmm. And that needs to change. That should have changed before this quad.
So to dovetail that topic, speaking of proud, Ben Proud is now, I thought when you said proud, I thought this was where you're going. Ben Proud, Olympic silver medalist in the 50 free, World Championship, 2025 World Championship silver medalist in the 50 free. He was 21-2 at both of those meets in the long course 50-meter freestyle, announced that he is now going to the enhanced games. We don't know if he will be on the enhanced program, meaning taking PEDs, performance enhancing drugs. You can compete in the enhanced games without taking performance enhancing drugs, but he said there's no pressure to. He doesn't have to. We don't know if he will or not, but he is going that route in large part because he's getting paid.
Yeah. There's this is going to sound like it's off topic, but like even at SwimSwam with our team, and how we engage professionals in swimming, sometimes our team gets frustrated because it's like, we want you to be more professional. We're trying to do a professional job with the media. We want you to be more professional and less like an age group summer. Mm-hmm. And there's frustration in the background. I'm the one person in the background who also at the same time thinks, they're not earning a living. They're not being treated like a professional. We're expecting them to act like a professional, but that's not the lifestyle they're living.
Yes.
They're suffering through the training. They're making their achievement. If they have a career and they're super successful, it's because they've done it independent of the Olympic ecosystem. They've done it on their own in the private sector. Mm-hmm. And So I have compassion for them. So when I see something like a Brent Proud doing this, and then see the follow up where he says, I can make more money with
In
enhanced games than
1
I
year,
can in 1 year, then how many world championships?
13.
Then 13 world championships. I go, okay, I understand it. Uh, the enhanced games is odious to everybody in the Olympic ecosystem who believes in clean sport. Everybody is, the mantra is clean sport.
Mhm.
The enhanced games was incredibly smart, and I think it was by design to say that anyone can participate, because enhanced games is two things: it's anything goes, suits, enhancement protocols. You know, you can be a science experiment, and they want you to lean into it, or you can do it clean. I think they did that on purpose. So it's two things: it's that, and it's also the compensation, which is going to be more equitable and fair to athletes.
Mhm.
I think they did this, you can do it clean, because they knew a lawsuit was coming. They knew the monolithic organizations would push back and say, no, this is ours. No one, you can't participate.
Mhm.
And that's monopolistic. You cannot do that. World Aquatics changed bylaws,
That's right.
and which was completely needless. They didn't have to. We have rules in place that are
Mhm.
explicit. There was no reason to do it. So the monolith leaned into the monolithic. We control everything. We're a monopoly.
Yeah.
And enhanced games went. You walked right into it.
And now they have an $800 million lawsuit against
It's a real
World
lawsuit.
Aquatics,
Yeah,
USA Swimming, and WADA. Yeah.
it's real. Yeah, it's very real. But so for people who don't know, and we don't know at what level, although my suspicion is that it's my opinion, I'm guessing,
Mhm.
is that Peter Thiel is a big investor, and Peter Thiel is disrupting, is a part of the investment behind enhanced games, and he's disrupting it. If you don't know who that is, he's a part of the PayPal mafia. They made their money with PayPal. Elon Musk was a part of that. He's behind Palantir is the tech company and the data company behind the DoD. Intelligence, the intelligence services in the United States.
Mhm.
170 billion we're spending on ICE. Palantir's a 300. I think their valuation is 300 billion. It's larger than energy companies. This is an extraordinarily powerful person. And another part of Palantir is my understanding is that if you're in Wall Street, you hire Palantir to kneecap your competitors. Like it feels like a dark arts technology.
Mhm.
And so this is a tough person who's many steps ahead of of an organization that's the IOC. Think about it. They haven't gone to the IOC level, but like World Aquatics is 117 million in 2025 in revenue, sitting between 250 million dollars in endowment. Tiny compared to a Palantir. So
Yeah.
we're not big. We're not big, and they didn't
No.
handle this one smart. And I'm being hypercritical, and I should say this. This is also a good learning lesson. World Aquatics is very different from your national governing bodies. So if you're in Swimming Australia, Swimming Canada, British Swimming, the Italian Fed, Spanish, the Royal Spanish Fed,
Mhm.
they're all a little bit different, but they do. Staff and the CEO and the leader of each governing body has an enormous amount of power, and the board sort of is supposed to be 60,000 feet and sort of directs you what to do, but the staff really controls everything day to day. They do it. At World Aquatics, it is a sprawling bureaucracy. Staff, our Brent Nowick, he's an attorney, CEO, has far less control. He is answering to that volunteer side,
Mm.
and so there's less control, less uniformity, and I think that's part of the problem. And World Aquatics is really their bread and butter. Is they never, if you're Brent Nowicki and the CEO, you don't hear from the top 15 swimming nations. You hear from the other 170,
Yeah.
and you're providing them swimming welfare services
Mhm.
and support, and they're really proud of that because they're growing swimming globally. So I've been hypercritical that they would walk into this lawsuit, but it's also a multi-headed hydra that, like,
Yeah.
we're going in many different directions. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Well, and it's also, we saw sort of a mini version of this with ISL, correct? Where, ISL was kind of getting into this market. They were like, hey, swimmers come compete, and World Aquatics tried to bully them out. And, we just saw the lawsuit with Tom Shields and Katinka Hosu settled, and World Aquatics settled, right? Like Shields and Katinka won the lawsuit on behalf of ISL. Because World Aquatics did the same thing. And now with the enhanced games, it's a much bigger player. And yeah, we're gonna see what that looks like when it's an $800 million lawsuit.
Everyone needs to be very, very sober about something. We have not innovated in swimming. We are the same product. If you think about the Olympic stage, even world championships, we might get some more fans. The technology improves. But it's if you go back and watch world championships in the 70s and like Olympic games in 72, they're still calling the what and the why. They're doing a post-race interview and they're standing on the award stand.
Yeah.
So it's the same product. There's been no innovation. Technology has improved, but we've only benefited from those technology improvements, meaning we're going from, the crappy TV from the 1970s, 80s to 4K television.
Yeah.
And more cameras. But it's when you have that much power and no one, and you're basically a monopolistic organization,
Yeah.
you don't innovate as much, and someone can disrupt you. So I think that the enhanced games is always going to happen, or some version of it. And if enhanced games fails, there'll be something else, because people will look at this marketplace and go, we could take them on.
It's interesting. It's sort of the same thing you were talking about with USA Swimming CEO, right? If someone has all the power, or someone is not incentivized to change, if they're incentivized to protect their salary, it's what they're going to do. It's logical, right? It's like, yeah. I'm protecting my money.
That's why I wanted somebody who that's why I wanted. That's the reason why I interviewed, and why I was very bullish on the other 3 Olympic champions that interviewed, because I knew that they didn't care about the title or the money. They were ready to die to win. They would stay up at night. This would bother them. They would do it. They would do it all the time, and they would be innovative and aggressive. So I wanted someone who was all in. But in regards to enhanced games, people are like, there's no business model. That's not true. They're selling the protocol, which is the lab experiment. They're selling the protocol to be enhanced.
Yeah.
There's going to be television rights, and the television rights will be, they're pretty good. It doesn't have to be too huge. Additionally, they're well funded. They're funded on a scale that's pretty high, meaning they're going to do this for 7 years, and 7 years is that magic number. 5 to 7, which ISL knew. If you talk to the founder of ISL, he's like, I need to get 5 to 7 years, and we will mature. Betting will be introduced. And for the non-swimming fan, they don't care if someone's enhanced or not. It's pure spectacle. Yeah.
Yeah. And we know why ISL didn't work out. The pandemic hit, and then the war in Ukraine, and we don't need to go into that, but I don't think the enhanced games is worried about losing funding anytime soon. And when you listen to what Ben Proud had to say about why he did it, he's a 30-year-old. He's on the tail end of his career, and he can make enough money to support himself, his family, his mom for a long, long time doing the enhanced games. And when it comes down to that, we just said it. If you're protecting your money, it makes sense. It's logical.
If he swims clean, and he might, he could do a version of the protocol that doesn't run afoul of PEDs. He could swim clean and make this money. My guess is, I think cooler heads are going to prevail. All these big organizations are going to try and settle with the lawsuit, and they will settle. This is going to cost millions and millions of dollars. Cooler heads will prevail, and if he swims clean, he'll swim enhanced games, and he'll swim LA 2028. That's my
I think
prediction.
that'll be really,
Yeah,
really interesting to see.
He's got to swim clean, but it's like, yeah, he'll do both. But there's going to be, I think there will be a settlement. This is I think it's a real lawsuit.
Yeah. So we'll see how all this plays out. That's been a lot of shop talk on this episode of the breakdown, but a lot of very big news over the last couple of weeks, obviously. So we wanted to come in, give you our breakdown of all of it. And speaking of innovation, we're ending this breakdown with a fun segment on an innovation that our guest who's joining us has strong feelings about. We're bringing on Caitlin Gagnon. Caitlin, thanks so much for joining us. How you doing?
Hello. I love the term innovation. Something so silly.
We've been talking about innovation, and you have been on a platform on your soapbox begging for the addition of an 800 medley relay.
Yes.
So
I feel so strongly about this.
Tell us about this. Why does swimming need an 800 medley relay?
Okay. Hear me out. So I have two main reasons. One is it would be fun to watch. I would personally like to watch an 800 medley relay because think about this. So you're watching a 200. Everything can change on the third 50, right? When you're watching a 200, did they take it out too fast? Did they, all of that. 4 times in one race, you get to see that. And it's not like an 8 free relay where, it's freestyle. You don't even know what lap you're on. It's always a risk. Somebody's going to do an extra or somebody's going to dive in too early. It's not that interesting.
We've seen it before. Yeah.
A medley relay does away with that. Mm-hmm. But also, especially at the NCAA level, you are going to have some real depth to pull off an 800 medley relay. So I think it's a real demonstration of the depth of a team because how many times, especially at like the mid-major level, is your 200 backstroker and your 200 butterflyer the same person? Mm-hmm. You can only use them once. So what are you going to do? Where are you going to put them? And so that is, I think it's a test of depth. So I did some math. Because until very recently, this was kind of just based on vibes. And so I took the top 4 teams from women's NCAAs this year. And I said, all right, would this actually be, a fun event to watch? Yes. So we remember the top 4 teams were UVA, Stanford, Texas, and IU. Those were our top scoring teams. Mm-hmm. So I took their top scorers in the 200s. And what I was really shocked by was how many did not have people in finals. I was having to go back, especially for, I think it was Texas. I was having to go back into prelims to pull times for their fastest swimmer. And so there's that depth thing again.
Right.
Really onto something.
Yeah.
So obviously UVA ran away with it when I put all the times together. But sure. I would like to just shout out to IU because when I did add up the times, they were pretty darn close. And at the 400, I had Claire Curzan and Amy Canny for UVA.
Okay.
At the 400, they're at 354.23. And then for IU, Miranda Grana and Brianna Crawford were at 354.39. So super
1/10
close. Yeah. And then, UVA runs away with it and flying free. But
who was UVA's flying free? I want to hear the relays now.
Alex Walsh and Anna Moesh. So
yeah,
but because Anna Popluski was IU's freestyler, it's pretty. She's quick. She went a 140. Yeah. So yes, that's my hear me out forever is there should be an 800 medley relay. Yes.
This is my takeaway. I think that Michael Phelps might be supportive of an 800 relay. 800 medley. I think he would be because he came out and he was like, we're adding these 50s and it's like, what are we, what are we, summer league? And because I think it's like, he did. If you can swim a 200, you're a real swimmer. I do think it is the we know that people hit some of the 200 meters suffer. Here's my thing. I was just off the theory talking about. I'm going, yeah, that's kind of cool, but if this is NBC doing it, at the world level, or national level, and if it's the ESPN at the NC2A level, are we breaking away to the commercial every time there's a 4x2 medley relay? And I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think you're right. It would be the box in box.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very optimistic. I think the box in box is optimistic, but I want I'm a 200 butterfly. I'm down. I'm ready. I'm going to throw my support behind you because I would have had a relay.
Thank you. Yes, as a 2 flyer, this would have been my ticket onto a relay in college, and so that's why I feel so strongly. I think,
and it would change recruiting, right? That would change recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
It would.
Yeah.
And I like it for that sole reason of you're getting mid-distance specialty swimmers relay medals. And I like on the international stage in NCAA, it's cool. And I think it would be way more exciting at NCAAs than it would at an Olympics or World Championships. Honestly, watching this race long course, I might be like, can we get a commercial break? But I think it would be awesome to get, Leon Marchand or whoever, a relay gold medal or a relay whatever medal in a 200 breast or a 200 fly. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, yards. This would be lights out. This would be super fast.
It would be so fast.
It would be fast at the NC2A level. I like it. Here's the thing. On the international stage, I think most everyone's like, no, we're going to get 50s for the medley relay. Everyone wants the nitro. They want the speed. Mm-hmm. I think that this is a cultural argument, and I just want you to know, thank you for coming on because I am with you. And if you really want to dig into it, I guess we'll have to appeal to Michael Phelps and see if we can get his buy-in and his platform to get behind it. But we'll also talk to World Aquatics and say, hey,
listen,
can you tell us what's going on and why this hasn't happened? And I would be curious to hear what their swim nerd inside of World Aquatics, Mike Unger, would say.
I think I'm fighting an uphill battle against the sprint culture that's building right now, but it's a battle I'm willing to fight.
It would be fun. It would be really interesting to see. I'm thinking about this on the international stage, and because so many, let's say Hubert Koch, right? Hungary, great 200 backstroker. Milak, great 200 butterflyer. But then you have those 2 other legs that you have to fill, and you're like, how is that going to play out? So I think it would turn into something like the mixed relays or the mixed medley relay, where you can see a lot of variance from leg to leg, right? I mean, we're talking, it could be up to 7 or 8 seconds difference from leg to leg.
I threw my hat in the ring with support for the 4x2 medley relay, but I didn't think something through. That's a lot of 200s. Think about how many 200s you would swim on the international stage.
Yeah,
you've got your heat, your semi.
I think this would
final.
Have to be a timed final situation.
It would have to be yes, for sure. Because, and I thought about like, what day would you put this on in an Olympic schedule? There's no day where there's not something that these people would already be swimming that is long and difficult.
Maybe we could do a 10th day. The 10th day would be over the top. It'd be online. And it would just be for the diehards, and it'd be like,
I think 800 medley, 200 medley, 200 free.
I think that I'm
and 4x1500.
I'm down for the exhibition 5th day on the world champs or at the Olympic Games.
Yeah,
I'm down for the extra days that we just it's not televised. We just do it online. We stream it. That way that would be a great data set. It would be like, who are the biggest nerds in swimming? Because you would just capture all that data on those days. It'd be like, these people are weird. These are my people.
This is SwimSwam's core audience.
It is SwimSwam's core audience. Although I don't think I think this has been brought up a few times. And how did it break down in the comments?
The 800 medley relay.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've seen that. Haven't you
Hopefully
seen
we'll
that
find out
thread?
now.
That's a weird thread that happens every so often.
Yeah, people have talked about it before.
Maybe
Caitlin, how long have you been beating this drum?
Caitlin's been
At
starting this
least
thread.
since college, so we're going back to like 2012.
Caitlin started this thread. What are you commenting
Over
on?
a
What's the
decade.
name you're commenting on? Or you started these threads?
I don't think I've put it anywhere on SwimSwam,
Mm.
but that's not to say I haven't.
But now we know what
Yeah.
to look for.
Yeah,
Like
I
this
think
is
it would probably really mess up my pick'ems though for like world championships. That
mhm.
would, with all the different countries and the figuring it out. I didn't do very well this year, and it would definitely, I wouldn't do well in the pick'ems.
Off topic, I have to say this. We're not, because of Section 230 law, you know, we can't mess with comments, or once someone comments, it's like, if they get past the policies and they get on the board, we can't do anything. You have to either delete or edit, or, you know, you can't edit a comment.
Mm-hmm.
So, or you can't out somebody for commenting anonymously. And, but I love it when coaches comment and get real heated, and then they get so heated, they're like, this is too much. And then they email me and out themselves. And I go, oh, that's who that is. Yeah. But you've never been that passionate about the 4x200 medley relay thread to email and
Directly email you. No, but if you do see Glamour Swammer on there talking about it, that is me.
Okay. I like that.
That's good to know. So, well, now maybe we can start a comment chain on this video, on this article. So let us know what you think in the comments. 800 medley relay at NCAA's on the international stage, yay or nay? Caitlin, thank you so much for joining and adding a fun little segment to this breakdown that was very serious before. That's our show for today. We will see you next time on the SwimSwam Breakdown.